Ever since the church began, some who obeyed the gospel, thus being added by the Lord to the church, have failed to remain faithful. I'm sure that there are some reasons with which I'm not familiar. However, I've heard several in the years that I've been preaching the gospel, in hopes that these might prevent someone from turning from their faith. I'd like to discuss just a few of these today. Some depart from the church because of feelings of guilt. When one knows he is not living as Christ teaches us to live during the week, he should feel guilty and ashamed when he comes into his Bible class or into the worship assembly. His guilt and shame leaves him with two choices. He can confess and repent of his sin, or he can continue in it. One who continues in sin will not long remain faithful in attendance where his sin is going to be preached and taught against. Such a person will feel increasingly out of place and will eventually quit. Of course, quitting the church does not remove the guilt. It only removes one of the constant reminders of this guilt, and many there are who choose to take this route. Some leave because they dislike someone in the congregation. It may be the preacher, it may be an elder or a teacher. It usually is someone who is in a leadership role. And we all have enough faults to be unlikable to someone else. But guess what? We do not have to like every member of the church to be a faithful Christian. God must dislike even the best of us often, but He still loves us and seeks the best for us. Likewise, we can dislike and irritate one another at times as long as we still love one another enough to seek the good of each other. Quitting the church and thus losing one's soul is a high price to pay because we don't like someone. Others leave the church at times because they feel that there are too many hypocrites in the church. And I suppose that all Christians, including elders and preachers, have been hypocrites or at least inconsistent at times. Even the best find it impossible to live flawlessly the message that we preach, and sometimes we do sin and fall short of the glory of God. But the one that charges that there are too many hypocrites in the church is himself hypocritical once in a while. Now, I'm not defending hypocrisy, but which is worse? To continue to faithfully assemble and work with other imperfect saints, knowing that one's own life is not perfect? Or to drop out and not even make an effort? Besides the presence of one or even hundreds of hypocrites, this has nothing to do with my relationship with God, unless I allow it to. Friends, do you come to the worship assembly to judge your brethren? Or do you come to worship God? Others quit the church because they feel that it's just too hard. They begin living the Christian life, and as time passes by and temptation enters in, and they realize the things that they are expected to lay aside in order to faithfully serve God. Many times they're not willing to turn away from their past life. They're not willing to lay aside things that they may enjoy, or they may not be willing to turn away from the friends that encourage them in a sinful lifestyle. And as such, they say that it's just too hard to live the Christian life. Well, ultimately, what has transpired many times is rather than it being too hard, they simply have not given a conscious effort. They've not really tried their best to live the Christian life. And so ultimately what happens is they blame the church. They say that it's just too difficult. It's just too hard. It's never their fault. It's always someone else or something else. And they refuse to remain faithful. Now, friends, there are many other reasons why people quit, but they all stem from letting selfish pride get out of hand. When selfishness drops out, the quitter will drop back in. Thank you for listening to our program today. May God bless you.